Tyson Alualu officially decided to change his heart. Now, remember, when free agency first started, Tyson had agreed in principle, and that's the key word, right? In principle, to a 2-year deal with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I believe it was 2 years, $6 million. And we kind of looked at it and said, man, we wish that we could have got him for that money. We thought that that wasn't out of the price range. We also saw other players that we signed and some of the flexibility that we had. And it was like, well, why didn't we do the same thing for Tyson? But now, due to some crazy circumstances here, Tyson was ultimately able to change his mind because he never flew down to Jacksonville to actually sign the contract. And due to the full court press of his teammates and coaching staff, they were able to sway him to ultimately decide to stay in Pittsburgh for another 2 years, which is huge. And the backstory behind it, I talked about a little bit with the reaction, and I'm sure, I mean, it's out there by now, but he had COVID. He had tested positive for COVID, and that was ultimately why he couldn't fly to Jacksonville, and ultimately led him to being here just sitting around for almost 10 days now, and his teammates were like, oh, hey, man, you haven't left yet, baby. You haven't signed anything.
Nothing's official.
What's good, you know? And it's funny when we talked about the whole purpose of agreeing in principle and how it gets a little iffy, and I gave you my scenario, right, about how, man, I had agreed on the deal, but then at the last second I flip-flopped. This right here is more in line with the Emmanuel Sanders, but even a little bit worse because at least with Emmanuel Sanders, it was similar to mine, right, of the, all right, we're going to say we're going to go here, but last minute, all right, we flip-flop. It wasn't the long, like, week and a half of, all right, man, this is a done deal. It's over, like, out of sight, out of mind. Tyson hit us with the out of sight, out of mind. I'm supposed to have been signed this a week ago. Boom, I'm back.
That's a good point, too, because maybe the Jaguars, they use their free agency plans accordingly from that point. Like, hey, we already got Tyson.
We're good.
We don't have to worry about a defensive tackle at all.
And at a very affordable rate, so you knew money-wise if you're Jacksonville, you're like, well, this only costs X amount on the cap. We could do this and this and this. And now you're like, whoa, we have issues. Houston, we have a problem.
You know, what's funny, too, is the connection to the Jaguars. You've talked about it with the Bills.
Absolutely.
Like, there's a certain place in your heart for the Bills. There always will. Absolutely. That's the team that drafted you. In this case, though, how is Jacksonville feeling about this?
Well, yeah, that's from a fan base
from
standpoint.
Tyson, he's probably like, I still got love for Jacksonville, but for Jacksonville now,
it could definitely be a little.
You already left us once.
Yeah, two
then
times.
Then you said you were coming here.
Yeah.
Then you bounced after 10 days.
Crazy.
We're good with it. I mean, I think you made the best decision.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, we love the pick. We love the move, and that's why it was funny because I said, if this is the reverse, we are bashing that player. Imagine if one of these players that we've agreed to a deal in principle with, right? Well, we haven't really had. Well, B.J. Finney, he's a guy, right? Because obviously he was outside coming back in. Now, he's already officially signed his deal, but say, for example, he never had the opportunity to come back and sign that deal. I don't think it would be to the same extent because it's B.J. and it's not the same as Tyson.
Might have been happy. I don't know.
You never know, right? You're absolutely right. But with Tyson, I think Tyson was a top 10 pick down there. Played down there for, 8 years. So, yeah, I think it was a lot more that went into it, man, in terms of how they would view him pulling this stunt. But,
yeah, I don't know. Do they have forgiveness?
I mean, is their fan base as passionate, though? I don't know if they even care like that.
True.
I told you, I've been to their games, and it's like, you show up in this, whatever team I'm on, whether it's Buffalo or Pittsburgh, that's the fan base that's there, and their fans are in a pool. And it's like, all right, cool. But they don't really, it's different. So I don't know if they even care to that extent of him having to.
Yeah, you're right. They're in rebuild mode. Tyson's 33, so maybe they're thinking, all right, we can move on without Tyson coming down.
They got Urban Meyer down there though. It's a lot of excitement bubbling in Jacksonville. Potential home of the Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, but they're not going to be relevant for 3-4 years.
They think they win now. Urban Meyer, where has Urban Meyer went where he hasn't won in his first year? He won it was at Utah. He did it in Florida. He did it.
What was his first one? Wasn't it?
It was a smaller school. Yeah, absolutely.
No, Bowling Green. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
it had a G in the name.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, no, dude. I just don't think they're gonna be relevant.
All right, man. Hey, don't put it past good old Urban Meyer, man. I've never seen him lose. He always wins.
Either way, great decision for Tyson. Yeah. And this is one of the things that we thought of too. You bringing up Jacksonville, their passion from the fans, and just them not really being that relevant of a franchise, basically a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
Throughout the history of their NFL stay, they've had some runs to the AFC Championship a couple times. I think in the 90s with Brunell maybe, and obviously with Bortles in 17. But if the money's close,
Mm-hmm.
you got your home here, you got your family here.
Yeah.
Steelers, by my accounts, I think we're going to be in the mix, Super Bowl contenders.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, you think they could be in the playoff
No,
mix?
seriously, yeah, I'm with you.
Jacksonville's, what did they go? Did they go 1-15? Did they get 2 games? Either way, they're the first overall pick.
Yeah,
they had the worst record.
Yeah, they had a bad record. Yeah.
Like, there was no reason outside of just you having some type of feel or vibe in your heart for Jacksonville going there. That was the only thing, because we were kind of shocked with him leaving Pittsburgh. We thought he was going to stay, but then we saw Jacksonville. Okay, that was your first team.
Right.
But still, at the same time, it didn't make sense.
Yeah. Well, and I agree, because if it was your first team, but it was still like the same coaching staff, I think that holds a lot more weight. Right there, I think ownership is the same in terms of Shad Khan still being the owner, but in terms of Tom Coughlin was there for a little while, and between that, it's a different guy that's doing the football ops now. Obviously, Doug Marrone is gone as well. So that's a total different regime now. 2 different regimes. The regime that drafted Tyson and the people that were there with that. Then once, because I want to say it was Del Rio that was the coach down there. This was before he went back out to Oakland, if I remember correctly. You know what? We got this computer real quick. Let's check that out. But
yeah, if I'm going to bet, I'm going to say he was definitely there for Tyson's maybe first 3 or 4 years, I would say. Yeah, because when did he go out to Oakland? Did he take a year off?
Let me check real quick.
I'm saying he was fired in 2012 or 13. So Tyson might have had 3 years, if I had to bet money.
All right.
What are you thinking?
I'm drawing a blank on off the top of my head.
You're struggling on this Google search too.
Oh, no. Because I was trying to figure out where I wanted to go from a website standpoint. They'd probably make it the easiest. Because it gave me Wikipedia, and I was like, I don't trust Wikipedia like that.
You gotta go to Pro Football.
That's the only one to go to, baby.
Who are you looking? Are you looking up through Jacksonville, or are you trying to click on
Jacksonville?
See, they may have a Jack Del Rio profile though. Let me see.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Jack Del Rio. I'm trying to see who the other coaches that were up there, though. That's what I'm saying, like, during that time frame. Yeah.
Yeah, so yours is the most efficient way. But I'll tell you Del Rio.
Yeah, Del Rio.
2011.
Yep, and then it was Malarkey. Oh, man, he had Malarkey. Yep. Gus Bradley for a couple of years as well. Yeah. So you got to think, man, this is too...
Yeah, there's no continuity. It's one thing if Pittsburgh was the first team that drafted you.
Yep.
Mike Tomlin was the coach. And then you leave. Mike Tomlin's still the coach. Like a lot of some of these players that we're talking about with free agency, like Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin's still the coach. There's continuity here. This is why it makes sense. Tyson and the Jaguars, when you really break it down, it still wasn't adding up, which is why... And it seems like everything that's come out afterwards, he wanted to stay. His family wanted him to stay.
Yeah.
So what was at play here? Did he just want the extra money?
I don't know. I mean, like I said, for some people, number one, location is key. I don't care what you selling me about Pittsburgh. Jacksonville has way better weather. City. Like I said, Jacksonville has way better weather. That's all I'm throwing out there, all right? So that could definitely be a part of it. Like I said, for him, also, I mean, he's still... Like I said, when you play somewhere for that long, you're going to still have ties to that community. No different than how I am at JMU or in Buffalo. Like, I still have ties to those communities. So, for something that could be, that was weighing a little bit heavy on him that he might not have shared. Like, I don't know it enough to that extent. Sure. But that could have been, that could have played into it. You just never really know. And then opportunity-wise, he could be saying, well, I got a better opportunity to be, a 4 or 3 down player versus here. I'm going to always be limited to what?
40-50% snaps.
Tops. Yeah. Right. Because we know Cam into it got to be on the field. So that could have played into it as well. We don't talk about that a lot publicly. And knowing Tyson, he would never say anything like that publicly. But trust me, as a competitor, we all want to ball more. You don't have productive season after productive season and feel like, oh, I should be playing less. You feel like, no, I should be playing more. So that could always be a factor as well. So you just never know all of those things that kind of went into it. But either way, I'm just happy that, number one, he was confident enough in himself to say, well, you know what? I don't think I made the right decision. I want to change my mind. Because it's not easy to do. Listen, when I had to make that call to Atlanta and let them know, like, it was awkward. Because, like, part of me, you happy because, like, dang, I got to do all I wanted with the team I wanted to be with. But the other side, you're like, I gave my word. And they felt like, we're good. We got the guy that we wanted. So to call them and be like, I appreciate y'all, throwing me this money, going to bat with the negotiations. This is your second time around trying to get me. Like, I appreciate all that, but I'm going to stay here. You know what I mean? So that takes a lot. So for Tyson to do that, it's like, man, I commend you because I know that feeling. It's not easy. But you made the right choice. And the reason I say that, regardless of what happens the next 2 years, if he gets cut, if he makes all pro, it doesn't matter. The reason why I say he made the right choice is because it's something that he can be happy with.
Sure.
And that's the one thing that you got to always do. You got to do what makes you feel happy. Because if you make that decision based on your family only, but not Tyson, if Tyson
or any outside
right.
factors, if you're trying to please Jacksonville
Seriously,
and say, like,
yeah.
hey, man, I gave my word. I don't really want to be here, but I'm going to keep going through
Yeah.
this. You're going to be miserable, probably.
Right. Or vice versa, right? If it's like, yo, his wife and kids want to stay in Pittsburgh, but he's like, yo, I hate showing up to work here every day, then it's like, how does that benefit him to come back for them? So that's why I say, like, this is the right move, because this is what he truly feels he needs to do. And that's why I can respect it, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but definitely glad he's back in Pittsburgh, man. That takes a huge weight off our shoulders.
Yeah.
When we get back to, like, when we talk about the X's and O's element of it, we were, spitballing about the
Bugs.
potential hole that he created, and we're like, Bugs or Davis. And we even joked about, just put Wormley in there, even though we know Wormley's not built for that. Just throw anybody, because it wasn't very glamorous at the time. But now, when you have Tyson back, and Tyson is nose tackle number 1, well, I love the depth behind him when you got Davis and Bugs, and whichever one of those guys continue to ball out and grow could potentially push Tyson, right? To either make Tyson play better or surpass him, whichever one. But I like it a lot better now than prior to that, of him being able to come back.
He's up there in age, but anyone that watched him play, that was probably his best season in his NFL career last season. It surprised everyone, I think. Mm-hmm. I know he played pretty solid for us in, 2019, but man, coming out of nowhere, we were talking about him in the first 3 or 4 weeks. We made it a point to do, little segments, 3 or 4 minutes. Bro, he's jumping off the screen right now. I know Bud Dupree's playing awesome, TJ Watt. We're seeing Devin Bush.
And we even saw when Vince was getting, he was leading the league in tackles for loss, we'd always talk about how Tyson's the guy who's right there making plays with him every time.
Yeah, defensive line and that front 7, 8 was just crazy.
Was it was it Baltimore when he got hurt? I feel like whenever he got hurt, and then after that, Devin got hurt, and then Bud got hurt, it was just one thing after another. But when they were healthy, it was different up front, man.
Yeah, if he could be 90% of what he was last year, that's definitely worth it. Isn't it a little bit less than what his contract was with Jacksonville?
I haven't saw the.
I don't know the details, but worst case,
I just know it's a 2-year deal. That's
worst case, it's the same deal. We have all this cap space now. I know he was on the team last year, but still, this is a nice little move.
No, without a doubt. Yeah, I mean, he was gone. He was a part of the list of people.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, you could basically.
He was a part of that.
Wrote him off as hey, he's a Jaguar now.
Right. And that was a part of the reason why we viewed our free agency the way that we did a little bit. He was another one of those people where we're like, you lose Vince Williams by releasing him. You lose Steven Nelson by releasing him. You let Mike Hilton walk in free agency. You lose Bud Dupree. And now it was like, oh, you also lost Tyson. It's like, dude, these are 5 starters or starter snap guys, in terms of the volume of snaps that they're playing and stuff. And we're like, the guys you're replacing them with are very inexperienced. Regardless of how good you think they can or can't be, they're very inexperienced at the moment. So that's why a lot of us were concerned. You saw how I was. I was doom and gloom. But now this is a nice piece to that puzzle. This takes one of those issues and minimizes it now. It's one less thing we have to worry about. And now, even though we still have our significant focus areas in terms of running back, O-line, inside and outside linebacker, you still, or in secondary as well right now, So it's at least it's one less thing, though. It's one less thing. You don't have to include nose tackle as well now. So that's the way you got to do it, though. The closer it gets to the season, the more of those things you want to check off the list.